Okay, now we're live. And I'll introduce 1 second. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Well, good afternoon for those who are in the Eastern time zone. It is, well, 1 or 2, according to my time here. It's Saturday, 16th of May. I apologize for the couple of minutes of technology challenges. There always are those to remind us the environment we're working in. My name is Jagdeep Singh. I'm moderating today's webinar today, and with my heartfelt thanks to Tamara Jansen. She's joining us. I started with Tamara because she's on the top left side of my screen, so in no particular preference. But Conservative MP Tamara Jansen from Cloverdale, Langley, BC. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll go through the initial introductions and hand it over to you one by one. We have our Liberal Party of Canada MP James Maloney. Thank you very much and welcome for joining us. And we have Chabul Singh. He is a Sikh who is going through all of the torment and issues in Afghanistan. He's somewhere in Afghanistan, even though we were discussing off air where he is. We will not disclose that, his exact location or the city, just to for his safety and security. So having said that, those are my initial introductions. And the topic today is to go through Afghan minority challenges and really talk about what is going on with the Afghanistan minority situation, the way forward. And those are basically the objectives today. We're trying to find a cohesive, nonpartisan approach from a Canadian perspective and a Canadian human rights track record perspective, and see how we can move forward. So I'll stop talking now. I'll actually let James introduce himself first. If you can, please. MP Maloney, please go ahead.
Sure. Thanks. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to join you today, and thanks for organizing this this event. My name is James Maloney. I represent a riding in Toronto called the Etobicoke Lakeshore. I've been the Member of Parliament here since 2015. My background before that, I practiced law in Toronto for 20 years. In Parliament, I've worked on a variety of different issues since I've been there. But today, I'm very happy that you were kind enough to invite me, and I look forward to talking to you about this with Tamara and Chabul about how we can move this issue forward in a nonpartisan way, because in politics, there's always disagreement and different views and different perspectives and different ideas, but there's issues sometimes which everybody agrees on, and we can work together as parliamentarians as opposed to members of different political parties, and this is without a doubt one of those issues. So I look forward to our discussion today.
Thank you very much for those kind words, and it's very important that we recognize the humanitarian crises that this situation has sort of put forth. Really, it's a global community. Tamara, if you can please take the mic. And
okay, thank you very much. Sat Sri Akal to everybody. First, I want to say I hope everybody's keeping safe during this time of COVID-19. And if you don't mind, I'd like to do a little shout out to Guru Tej Bahadur Sahib, that's located here in Cloverdale. They've been, during this difficult time, giving spiritual services, obviously, Langar Siwa throughout the day. And also I'd like to acknowledge the Gurdwara Duk Nivaran Sahib. They're in the neighboring riding, and they've been doing some incredible things as well. They're feeding thousands of families, seniors, truckers, students, frontline workers. So it's been amazing to watch how the Sikh community has been reaching out and helping all those in need in our area. Thank you so much. What I would like to say as well is one of the big things that are important to me as I ran in my riding was specifically religious freedom. I think it's something that we all should really be concerned about. And the plight of the Afghan Sikhs is absolutely heartbreaking, and all minorities that are challenged with the kind of violence that's happening, especially as we've seen in March in Afghanistan. And it does require, very decisive action, and I'd like to see that come from ourselves, from Canada, and from our international counterparts. When I saw the attacks on social media, I was just absolutely shocked. I cannot imagine being in church or being in a Gurdwara and being attacked in that way. It's just mind-boggling. And then the following day to be again attacked at a funeral. It's just a horrific thing. And so it's amazing as well to see the international community, Sikh community, also. I believe you're speaking on behalf of the Hindus. I know my petition does, that are in that area, calling on, basically trying to get an organized awareness of what's going on. The communities, the minority communities have been dwindling due to religious persecution. Right. And the petition that we have put out, we did it through a young man here in the Fraser Valley who put the petition online, and then I supported it. And basically the petition is calling for the government to do two things. First, it asks the Minister of Immigration to create a special program, to use the powers granted to him to create a special program for all religious minorities in Afghanistan to come to Canada. And second, it calls on the Minister of Foreign Affairs to strongly advocate for those persecuted minorities with his Afghan counterpart to ensure more is done to protect them. So if you're interested in signing that petition, please go to my website. It's tamarajansenmp.ca. And there's a tab especially for petitions. You can go there. There'll be a very short survey, and then goes straight to the petition. So thank you very much for everybody coming here. It's a heartbreaking situation to have to watch what's going on for Chabul Singh and all of his friends and family there. And I look forward to the conversation. Thank you. Wonderful. For having me.
Thank you very much, MP Jansen. I also want to recognize really all parties in the Canadian government. We've had previous petitions presented where NDP party has come through and reading the petition. I know Liberal Party has done quite a bit of work while they were in power as well. We've had some families come over from Afghanistan to Canada. I guess the call here today is to do more given the grievousness of the situation, because like you said, Tamara, the latest attack was heinous in more ways than one, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But so I mean, the recognition, a shout out goes out to all of the Canadian parliamentarians, because it is a humanitarian crisis. The Liberal Party of Canada, Conservatives, and the NDP, we've got everybody behind on this issue. Chabul Singh, I'd like to ask you now if you want to make an opening statement. I don't know if you can hear us, because yes. Technology is always challenging, but go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead. You can introduce yourself. If you have a statement, you can make a statement.
First of all, first of all, for all of you, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh, Sat Shri Akal, hello. Then I am Chabul Singh Khalsa from Afghanistan. I am as a Afghan Sikh and I live in Afghanistan.
Okay. Do you want to tell us, Chabul Singh, thank you very much. Do you want to tell us something about the situation? Let's start off with that. Why don't you give us a layout of what your day kind of looks like? Thoda din kidan guzarda hai? Thoda ja apne dasso ki mushkilan aa rahi hote? What difficulties are you having there?
I want to say, first of all, thanks from all Afghan Sikh and Hindu for the all United Sikh team for helping us with their kindness. They help us in lockdown and without lockdown. I think maybe you are better know about Afghanistan situation. This is a city like village and there is no security, no asking anyone. Wars and Taliban, terrorists, and we without paying money, it means jizya, can't live here. And also our gurdwaras, it means temples. We can't secure this without police security. And if we want security in front of temple, on that time will be problems more.
Okay, excellent point. I think Chabul Singh ji, thank you very much. His one line really summarized it all. He goes, "It is a city like a village." And really, when we speak about Afghan community, and I know I'm moderating today, but from a United Sikhs perspective, when we speak about some of the challenges that they've been having, our audience actually knows this. A lot of attendees who are actually on the Zoom today, they're familiar with the issue, and they understand that this is just the community and the citizens of Afghanistan coming together and safeguarding each other. There's no support structure as such as we're used to in North America. Very blessed to be in a country like Canada, of course, that's needless to say. And I mean, it's very hard for someone like me waking up here in a city like Toronto and even be able to comprehend as to what the day might look like. So Chabul Singh ji, thank you very much. Tada bahut bahut धन्यवाद. जे तुसी कुछ और add करना चाहो, if you want to add anything else.
And also we always warn from enemies of Afghans at Afghanistan, but we can't say this warning for government. You are better know about this. And I have personally seen an attack where the terrorists shoot our stores and our shops and our homes, and for more than 1 week we could not leave and go anywhere or do any work. We are constantly living under the threat of death and danger. And also say for that, here is we can't live as a human, because more Muslims says for us kafir. Kafir means, if anyone know in Islam, there is kafir. And kafir, they are happy to kill kafirs. Our children can't go school because also Muslim children beat 6 children in a school. And also tell for you, after 25 March attack of Kabul in Gurdwara Sahib, the terrorists warned other provinces, Sikhs and Hindus, that we should not open our shops. They said if your shop will open, they will kill us. So please, I request for all Canada government. So please help us. Here is no humanity, just living in a jail. I want request another time that please Canada government, MPs, Sikh communities help us and rescue us and from Afghanistan.
Thank you very much. I'm actually getting emotional here myself. I mean, that's a that's a heart-wrenching plea in terms of rescue us, help us, take us out of here. So a couple of housekeeping issues. I know that's going to get me out of this emotional phase. If anybody wants to join in, I don't know, for 815-5933-9281. That's the Zoom ID. We are also broadcasting this live on facebook.com/UnitedSikhs.org. That's six with an S at the end, UNITEDSIKHS.org. And the questions I have already posted in the comments on the Facebook page. The questions can be emailed to uszoominfo@gmail.com, and we've got somebody monitoring that email address. So uszoominfo@gmail.com, that's the place you can send the questions to. So going back to what Chabul said, kafir, really the English word is non-believer or an infidel. I'll open up to you, MP Maloney, having heard his firsthand sort of experience in terms of what is going on and how things are transpiring. I know for a fact that this problem, when it started with the Soviet invasion in Afghanistan and breakdown of law and order, the population was in several hundred thousands. And in 90s, when the Civil War started, it's been dwindling ever since. We've got 7 out of the 8 gurdwaras that were destroyed between 92 and 96. Gurdwaras, for those who are unfamiliar with the term, is the Sikh place of religious learning. It's a facility that everybody goes to. And just to highlight really succinctly as to what has transpired over the last couple of years, there was an attack on the 1st of July, which in Canada we all know as Canada Day. I mean, how tragic, at least from a Canadian perspective, that we celebrate the coming into force of the Canadian Confederation and the Canadian Charter of Rights and religious freedom and all of those values. And on 1st of July in 2018 in Afghanistan, a delegation of Sikh and Hindu leaders, while waiting to meet the then president, were bombed and killed. So that was very tragic. And even more so, it kind of went downhill from there when on 25th of March 2020, 25 Sikhs were killed and several wounded in a series of attacks. We had a bomb blast, we had a gunfire, and people who were trying to run out of the Gurdwara Guru Har Rai Sahib in Shor Bazaar in Kabul were also being shot at. And then, of course, there was a subsequent bombing attempts and shootings at the funeral for those people. And the most tragic part is, and I'm really going through this because people who are new to this issue, who are whether watching us on Facebook Live or watching this through the Zoom interface, understand that these people were gathered there. And I have pictures of before as well, of the bombing and after the bombing as well. They were gathered there to pray, according to their belief, for relief from COVID-19. So, I mean, there's a pandemic we've got going on, and these are people who are challenged from a lot of minority issues, a lot of Taliban and ISIS issues. And despite all of that, despite all the hardship that they're going through and have been going through for decades, where kids have not been able to go to school and they've been sort of confined to compounds within these gurdwaras, they've actually given it a thought to come together and really pray for all humanity. And for them to be bombed at that juncture in that situation, I mean, it's really beyond comprehension. I don't know what kind of a dastardly and a cowardly approach or mindset there has to be for this to actually take place. So like I said before I gave the background, MP Maloney, if you want to sort of give us your reaction in terms of what Chabul has mentioned and the overview that I've given.
Yeah, thank you. Chabul, I'm there's no words to that I can come up with to put in perspective what you just shared with us. Thank you for sharing that. For me personally, this is helpful because I can become an advocate in my own caucus and with all of my parliamentary colleagues, speaking to you firsthand like this, and I can feel your emotion even on a Zoom call like this. The depth of the evil and the level to which these people have sunk, taking advantage of a situation that we're in right now. It's the level of evil these people operate with, and before this COVID-19 situation arose, is something you can't put into words. Now, to take advantage of people when they're in that environment in those circumstances is unspeakable. So, but with it presents the challenges. I mean, we're in this situation with COVID-19. The world is effectively shut down, and movement is restricted everywhere, which is why you were there and why those prayers were taking place. So this, as I say, I'll take this back to my colleagues, and I can become an advocate on your behalf. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you very much, MP Maloney. Really appreciate your comments. I'll turn it over to you, Tamara.
Yes, thank you. It just touches my heart, the challenges that you are going through. Just by way of understanding my background, in 2015, my husband and I privately sponsored a Christian family from Syria, and they arrived here in around Christmas of 2015. The father had been actually held captive by ISIS for 4 months. He managed to pay a ransom and was set free, but we were privately able to sponsor. So I think about 25,000 people were able to come from Syria at that time. And then suddenly the government changed the focus from private sponsorship to public. So I'm hoping that with this petition, we can go back to the concept of private sponsorship. I've been really moved by the way that the Sikh community has been really working hard on behalf of those in Afghanistan. I think it was Manmeet Bhullar, who unfortunately has passed away, doing exactly what clearly he was made for, was helping someone on a highway. But he brought a number of people in, and I would love to see that we could finish that job for him. So that's where I'm coming from.
Thank you very much. So I do have a question. I don't know if anybody here is equipped to answer that. The questions come from Arinder, and the question is, what is the role of the Afghan government in this? So, I mean, I think I can probably answer that best, unless anybody wants to volunteer. But the issue with the Afghan government is, I think to what Tamara had mentioned earlier, that is one of the things there's in the petition. That's the Canadian Foreign Affairs should actually liaison with the Afghan government to provide some sort of relief. And I know United Sikhs, that's been around for 21 years. We're in the 21st year now, really working on the legal advocacy channels, aid, so disaster aid, COVID-19. We've got, just to quickly touch on that, almost close to 40 to 50 cities all across the world that we're actually providing meals to, and thousands upon thousands of them. In North America, at least in the United States of America, the hub, the New York City, we were called upon by the city's emergency management department to provide 30,000 meals there, and we're actually running an anchor food bank here in GTA out of Brampton, both for the Peel region, city of Mississauga. We've done deliveries in Scarborough for those who know the geography here, and including Brampton as well. So having said that, so that's the disaster aid component. There's the legal and advocacy, and there's the education part as well. So it's a nonprofit, non-governmental, not funded by any government, just funded by our donors, UN affiliated organization. And our work in the organization's work rather in Afghanistan has basically helped us make the discovery that the Afghan government has provided security, especially after the recent attack, which is what the question was, the role of the Afghan government. But obviously, it's self-evident that whatever's being done is not enough. I don't know if that's just a general failure in terms of the overall country situation, or if there's an apathy towards the minorities. Either or, there's a loss of human life, and all human life being created equal. It is important that something must be done about it. And I've come to believe, at least in my humble opinion, that we are a global village. I mean, really, we cannot look at borders from a perspective, oh, yeah, well, this is not our problem, right? So we've got to reach across that and really make things happen. So just want to come a full circle after answering that question with Chabul Singh. Chabul, do you want to add anything? Tusi kuch hor add karna chahonge? Kuch kehna chaਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋਰ?
Veer ji, can I say in Punjabi?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll translate. That's fine. I'll get to practice my Punjabi. मैं Punjabi practice करदा. Go ahead.
Yes, yes. ਵੀਰ ਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਥੇ ਦੱਸਾਂ ਇਹ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਮਾਮੂਲੀ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਨੇ, ਨੋਰਮਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਨੇ। ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਾਂ ਕਿ ਇੱਥੇ ਇੰਨੀ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਜੋ ਮੁਸਲਿਮ ਵੀਰ ਦੁਕਾਨ ਤੇ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਇਹ ਕਾਫਿਰ ਹੈ, ਇਹਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਚੀਜ਼ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੈਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ। ਇੱਥੋਂ ਤੱਕ ਕਿ ਦੁਕਾਨ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਵੀਰ ਪਾਣੀ ਦਾ ਡੱਬਾ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਨੇ ਪਾਣੀ ਪਿਲਾਉਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਜੋ ਕੋਈ ਪਿਆਸਾ ਧਿਆਇਆ ਆਵੇ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਪਾਣੀ ਪੀ ਲਵੇ। ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਾਂ 90% ਤੇ 90% ਤੇ ਲੋਕ ਉੱਥੇ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਤੇ ਕਾਫਿਰ ਦੀ ਦੁਕਾਨ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਬੈਠੇ ਹੋ, ਕਾਫਿਰ ਦੀ ਦੁਕਾਨ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਪਾਣੀ ਰੱਖੋ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੀਓ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇੱਥੇ ਕਾਫਿਰ ਦੇ ਹੱਥ ਲੱਗੇ, ਮੁਰਦਾਰ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਗੰਦਾ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਾਂ, ਜਿਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਿੰਘ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਆਸ ਪੜੋਸ ਦੇ ਲੋਕ ਜਦੋਂ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਾਰੇ ਗਏ, ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਕਈ ਮੁਸਲਮਾਨ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਨਹੀਂ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੁਰਦਾਰ ਕਹੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਾਫਿਰ ਹੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੁਰਦਾਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ। ਇੰਨੇ ਗੰਦੇ ਹਾਲਾਤਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੁਜ਼ਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਮਤਲਬ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਾਂ, ਆਪਣੇ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਮਾਣ ਸਤਿਕਾਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੇ।
So I'll translate that. Thank you, Virji. I'll translate that. It's once again a very heart-wrenching situation. So what Chubble basically described was that, first of all, the conditions that he's discussing, what he's mentioned already and what I'm about to translate for him, have almost become normal, which is the complacency has set in. People have gotten desensitized towards this kind of violence. And what he's narrated in Punjabi or explained what he experiences on a daily basis is like for them to even work on stores. So let's say if he was to go out and do some business or have a shop, people would not buy from him because he's a minority member or, like, I mean, I hate to use that term, but infidel, right? So basically a non-believer in the Muslim faith. So he is, for those who obviously are vicious in their mindset, they hold it out to be that we're not going to buy from you. So much so that he's mentioned, he goes, if we put out a container of water outside, just as a free service to say, here's some water. And even if that water is placed in front of a Muslim shop owner, so they're distributing free water, it's like charity. A, they wouldn't drink water, and people, B, wouldn't even buy from that shop. So the divisiveness in the society is so entrenched now that it's actually causing even simple acts of charity that are done on behalf of the Sikhs in Afghanistan to not be being received by generally in the society. So it's quite tragic, needless to say. I don't know if you want to get into some of the things that we've seen in the past that's happened in Canada. If any of you want to give your insight from a political perspective, please.
Well, for myself, I think we were trying to work towards the idea of a better education around the world of religious freedom when we had the religious freedom. Deacon Andrew Bennett was working hard around the world to try and bring some understanding to these kinds of situations, right? So we as a global community should understand how we should get along. We don't have to all agree. We don't all have to have the same religion. We need to have tolerance and understanding of each other. So I'm hoping that we can get that back again one of these days soon. Maybe James Maloney can work hard on that. So I think that, to me, if we around the world can really bring these kinds of issues forward and encourage, countries that are not allowing for religious freedom to really change that thought process. And it's not an easy process. I mean, when you have these kind of extreme orthodoxies, it becomes very difficult to convince anyone of anything other than that orthodoxy.
Right. And in all fairness, I mean, one of the things that I've been putting in documents and asking for as part of the United Sikhs work is to really have an outreach program to the people in Afghanistan minorities. Because one of the challenges is not only, there are these issues going on, but people who are there, they don't know that they have these options available, like what sort of a help they can get, what sort of programs can be put in place. And we work with consultants, within the organization in United Sikhs, and we have a very proficient, a very knowledgeable UNHCR consultant, and she's advised us that that kind of role is really not for the government of Canada or not for the Liberal Party. I mean, for the Canadian government to perform that sort of an outreach. It's really a UNHCR function. And for the UNHCR function to speak about the rights and responsibilities of people who are being persecuted, there's got to be a UNHCR office, and I don't think there is currently one in Afghanistan. So, I mean, that's just the environment which is hard for anyone to operate in all fairness. But once again, I'm really, really thankful that we're here just trying to understand the gravity of the situation, because it's one thing for me to put a document out, for the decades of work that the organization United Sikhs has done. But it's another thing for caucus members like James Maloney and yourself to really get behind this in a collaborative form.
Jagdeep, if I can just jump in here.
Please.
Look, it's awareness is a big part of the how we're going to move this forward, because people like me, and I'll say it again, I can take this experience I'm having today and the information I'm getting through this discussion, and I can take that and become an advocate within my own caucus, but in the community at large. Our government's been working on this issue over the last few years. As you know, we've been working with the Buehler Foundation. There's been, and you referenced this earlier, there's been a number of families who have been have come to Canada as a result of that, and there's hundreds still in the queue waiting to be processed. The immediate challenge right now is because of COVID-19, everything's at a standstill, everything's frozen. So even the processing can't take place right now, and that's going back to the events of March. You've got people who are using that as an opportunity to make matters even worse. So we can spread this information throughout our networks, and with your help, we can bring a level of awareness to the issue that didn't exist before, which is going to help tremendously, in my opinion.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm just getting an update that there is a UNHCR office in Kabul. That's from our UNHCR person. So I just got a chat message. She's listening, and that's great. So I've got a question where basically it's from what Canada has done in the Syrian crisis. I'm not sure if there's any background information as to what that came to fruition and how that came to fruition. And I mean, really from an advice perspective, because you're both parliamentarians, what needs to happen? What needs to happen from an organization perspective, such as United Sikhs, or even from people who are in Afghanistan, to basically get this to the next level?
I think the challenge is, of course, a lot of the people that would have come from Syria were not in Syria. They did manage to get out of the country and then were able to apply as refugees. So I think that's our challenge, right? Is how do we have people that are living in Afghanistan under these kind of conditions be able to apply as a refugee and be able to be sponsored. So I think that's a big hurdle we need to get over, but it can be done. We just need the government to put that forward and say, okay, let's champion this.
It is one of the challenges, and that's why a lot of the movement came through India. But again, when you're dealing with people who are native to Afghanistan, it does present unique challenges. But I hate to say this again, but right now we're frozen in time because of COVID-19. Hopefully, we're emerging from that.
But couldn't we
sooner rather than later?
Couldn't we be proactive in getting it ready so that when things do start opening up, that we can go in and do what needs to be done? I mean, I'm a mom, I'm a grandma. I can't even imagine what it's like to be living in a Gurdwara. Your kids are not able to go to school.
Tamara, I'm not suggesting for 1 second that we sit by and wait until this
Okay.
is over. I'm just no, don't misunderstand me. Quite the opposite. In fact, I'm just saying that the processes that are in place now can't be we can't follow through with those because of the circumstances. So, but no, by all means, this is a discussion we continue, and that's again, that's why today's so useful. So.
Right. So from a questions perspective, I just want to do a recap again. If you have any questions, you can send them to uszoominfo@gmail.com, and somebody's being monitoring that right now for me, and then I'll be receiving them through our internal messaging here, which I can then ask. Or you can ask them if you're on the Zoom panel. The two questions that I did come in, they came in from the Q&A window on the chat, and that's what it is. Now, in terms of a quarantine perspective, we've brought in Canadians from other parts of the world, and we brought them and to CFP Trenton and other places. We've kept them under quarantine for 14, 15 days before releasing them back in. It's something that maybe we need to take back and look at what sort of an immigration processes are in place and what strength the department's functioning at to actually process some of these cases. I don't know if any of you have any insight on that. I mean, I know, James, you're not the immigration minister, or probably don't have any visibility to it, but in all fairness to you, but
No, but I mean, the quarantine issue though is really, it's current, but it's separate from what we're talking about. If we were in a situation where people could be brought to Canada during these times, that becomes an issue. But the quarantine matter is something unique to the current circumstances, not unique to the issue we're discussing today, really.
right.
I know even for repatriating people from India and so forth, it's been incredibly difficult. So, I mean, we are definitely in a time where what we need to do is just set the groundwork for ensuring that, we can rescue the people from Afghanistan. But I can only see it as groundwork, looking at how difficult it was just working currently to get people from India under the COVID situation. I can't imagine how difficult it would be at this time to get them out of Afghanistan.
And to get into the process of immigration and what have you. So I'm going to ask you the next question, Tamara, and really this is more of a let's get our thoughts out there kind of a question. What do you think the groundwork might look like? If you were the Minister of Immigration, I mean, and I don't know if you're going to snap your finger, but
yeah,
and it's done. But what do you think that needs to happen in this case? I'm just kind of picking your brain here.
Well, I mean, I think the first thing we need to do is set up a way that we can privately sponsor these refugees. I think there's a number of people, obviously, around the world that are willing to do what needs to be done in order to make sure that we can support them. That we can, I mean, we don't just bring them here and then just let them go. We just say, come. We have a community here that's going to support you. And so I think first, let's set up a program where we can have a private sponsorship. And then the next thing, obviously, is we need to work with the Afghanistan government to see how they will allow these people to come here to Canada. Or I mean, you have connections all over the world. Perhaps they're going to go to Australia. I mean, you tell me, where can they all go?
Sorry, go ahead, please.
Yeah, just to pick up on that, I mean, Tamara's right. I mean, that groundwork can be laid. It's not an issue that's unique to Canada. We have to work with other countries to try to put pressure where pressure can be applied to make this happen and help people who want to get out to do so. In the meantime, communication, I know there's been a communication between our government and the government in Afghanistan since the events that took place in March to address the issue of security and to try to impress upon them the fact that during this period when movement can't take place, that security becomes even more of an important issue than it was already.
Okay, great. You know what I realized as you were speaking? I've been translating Chubble's comments to you, but I haven't been doing the other way around. So, so he's probably Chubble Singh ji, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਮਝ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ?
थोड़ी
थोड़ी समझ आ रही है, आवाज आ रही है, ठीक है
जी
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ। ਚਲੋ ਕਨੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਵਧੀਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਬਟ ਮੈਂ ਜਨਰਲੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਜਸਟ ਐਕਸਪਲੇਨ ਕਰ ਦਿਆਂ ਕਿ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਐਮਪੀਜ਼ ਦੋ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ ਦੇ, ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਿ ਆਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ, both MPs, ਦੋਨੋਂ MPs, MP Jansen and MP Maloney, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੰਸਰਨਸ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸੁਣੇ ਆ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਸੁਣੀਆਂ, ਔਰ ਮਤਲਬ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੀਆਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਅਫਗਾਨ ਸਿੱਖ ਦੀਆਂ ਸਿੱਧੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਅਫਗਾਨਿਸਤਾਨ ਚੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਐਮਪੀ ਨੇ ਸੁਣੀਆਂ ਹੋਣ, ਔਰ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਦਰਦ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਂਝ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਪਈ ਹੈ ਅੱਜ। ਔਰ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਆਸ ਕਰਦਾ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਤੁਰ ਸਕਾਂਗੇ। ਸੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਚੰਗੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਉਹ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਕਾਫੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਹੱਲ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਸਕੇ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੁਝ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੋਗੇ?
ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਐਮਪੀ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਾਂ, ਯੈਸ, ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਸੀਰੀਆ ਦੇ ਮੁਸਲਮਾਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਈ, ਔਰ ਕੰਟਰੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਜੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹੈਲਪ ਕੀਤੀ ਥਰੂ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਅਸੀਂ ਤੇ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਐਸੀ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਤੇ ਪਨਾਹ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਾਵੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਧਰਮ ਦਾ ਖਤਰਾ ਵੀ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਖਤਰਾ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ। ਸੋ ਐਸੀ ਪਲੇਸ, ਐਸੀ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਹੈ। ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਸੋ ਜਿੱਥੋਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਸਾਰੇ ਧਰਮਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਖੁੱਲ੍ਹ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਇੱਥੇ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹਨਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਿਰਿਆਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਬਾਂਹ ਖੋਲ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਨਾਹ ਦਿੱਤੀ, ਪਰ ਅੱਜ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਅਫਗਾਨਿਸਤਾਨ ਸਿੱਖ ਹਿੰਦੂ ਜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਪਲ ਮੌਤ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੁਜ਼ਾਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਵਿੱਚ ਦੇਖੋ, ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਾਂ, ਗੁਰਸਥਾਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਾਊਡ ਸਪੀਕਰ ਸਜਾਉਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਲਗਾਉਣੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਡਰ ਦੇ ਮਾਰੇ ਲਾਊਡ ਸਪੀਕਰ ਵੀ ਬੰਦ ਕੀਤੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਲਾਊਡ ਸਪੀਕਰ ਚਲਾਣੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਕੋਈ ਬੰਦਾ ਉਧਰੋਂ ਗੁਜ਼ਰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਕੋਈ ਮੁਸਲਮਾਨ ਗੁਜ਼ਰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਕਾਫਰਾਂ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਹੈ। ਕਾਸ਼ ਸਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਇਤਨਾ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾਫਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਸਲਾਮ ਦੀ ਤਾਰ ਨਿਕਾਲ ਕੇ ਕੇਵਲ ਇੱਥੇ ਨਮਾਜ਼ ਦਾ ਜਲਦੀ ਨੂੰ ਸਿਟੀਜ਼ਨਸ਼ਿਪ ਦਿਓ।
Okay, so I mean, thank you very much. ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕਨੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਠੀਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ, ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਸਾਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਸਮਝ ਗਿਆ। So his connection wasn't the greatest, but you know, I kind of heard what he said. So he's very appreciative of the fact that that I mean, both of you are here, and you know, in some capacity, you know, also we're feeling that both the parties are here, even though you're not you know, making an official statement here on behalf of the parties, but just to be clear, but at the end of the day, he's very appreciative of the fact, and I think as far as I know, to my information and knowledge, and please feel free to correct me, any of the audience members, if they think that that's not the case, this is the first time that two Canadian MPs from two different parties who have the ability to influence the lawmaking of the country and the program facilitation in this regard have heard directly from somebody in Afghanistan. And so he's very appreciative of your time. That's what he said. And he also said that, you know, even in the religious places, they're really not playing any sound. They're trying to keep it, the PA system off, because they don't want anybody walking by and saying that there's prayers going on over here. So even the buildings that are actually there, they might be being used, but they're using it in a manner where you can't really tell from outside that there's something going on. So, and one of the concerns he asked was, he goes, you know, we've been watching Canada, and Canada has done so much for the world. And he, in fact, also brought up Syria. And he said, you know, we've done so much for the Syrian Muslims. We brought them into Canada, and we've been languishing here for years after years and decades after decades. But why is it that nothing has been done to that length? I do have a question coming in. The question is, how can the parliamentarians in Canada help to fast track the private sponsorship? Why has it taken so long to bring the Afghan Sikhs that are being advocated for from here? So I don't know if there's a way to shrink the private sponsorship route, if you have a input on that.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
Sorry.
No,
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, in the short term, there's very little ability to do anything. In the longer term, I mean, as I said earlier, the steps were being taken to move families, to get families to Canada. There's been, I think, in excess of 30 families, and there was 100 more that were being processed. But you know, collectively, we can work on. Tamara and I and other MPs can become advocates for the issue within our own parties and with the government.
So again, I think our biggest challenge facing us, and I believe that the Minister of Immigration would be able to authorize a change to our system, is basically, again, that in order to be considered a refugee, you must have left your own country of origin and sought refuge elsewhere. And so that's how you get refugee status. And these requirements exclude people facing this kind of severe persecution that can't get to another country, can't access the certification process. And we've seen many examples where private sponsors are ready and willing to help persecuted people. And I believe even in my riding here, we have a number that are ready to go. But the requirement for them to leave their home country first causes that delay and that hardship. So it would be great if Canada, if the immigration minister could make a change to that system, and we could actually help you come home. And then the second hurdle again is the, working with the Afghan government.
Okay, that's thank you for that. Thank you for that input. I have one more question. What would be Canada's advice or your advice as MPs to the Trump government as they're walking out due to the so-called truce will cause immediate harm to minorities? So they've got the forces there, the American ground forces, and if they're going to come out, it's going to get worse for the minorities. I don't know if you have any opinion on that.
Tamara, you want to take that one?
Well, I
look,
mean,
it's not for the Canadian government to certainly not for me to be commenting on American policy like that or to giving it advice to them.
I think for me, my top concern is minorities that are being persecuted. And we as Canadians and Canadian government need to bring this issue to the forefront. We need to make sure that we are reaching out and helping our brothers around the globe who are suffering from these kinds of persecutions. And so I'm gonna shout it loud and hard, make sure that everybody knows this is what's happening, and we need to make a difference here.
And I think Canada's been a leader in that type of communication around the world for a long time, regardless of the time, and will continue to be advocates in that way. Okay,
great. So I have a question here. We've heard there's a private sponsor that Chubble is working with them to move to India. I'm not sure. We're not going to comment on any personal situations here, so I'm going to respectfully decline that question. So the question was basically around if this individual here on the phone call today is specifically working himself in a personal capacity to move to India. So we don't know about that, and we don't want to discuss that on the air. So having heard what you've heard so far, I mean, we've got 9 minutes into the call. I'm sort of gradually going to move towards closing remarks now. What's your feedback? What's your opinion on what you've heard so far? I don't know who wants to take the turn and go between the two of you. And some of the things, perhaps, if you can point out from your own personal perspective, as you know, really citizens of a country like Canada and being entrusted with the power as an MP. So I'm actually putting you both on the spot right now, because you've been elected, you're MPs, you've got the power of the office in you. You know, we've, as citizens of this country, it's my right, regardless of which party or which organization I'm in. I sometimes might be going against my own organization and really putting my voice out, because I have to be able to speak freely in terms of what my opinions are as an individual or as an elected representative, if I was one, basically to mention what should be done in this case, right? So I don't know if you want to talk about, so I would love to hear something from your end as to what you think the next steps are going to be, what your summary takeaway is from today's conversation.
Well, for me, obviously, if I can get people to sign the petition that we have made. So if you go to my website, tamarajansenmp.ca, and then go under the tab petitions, you'll do a short survey, and then you go straight to the petition, and you can sign that there. And I will be tabling that in the House. So I think that's really important that we get the news out about what is happening to the Sikh and Hindu minorities there in Afghanistan. Let's shout it from the rooftops, and I will talk about it in the House and make sure that we are keeping this issue on the forefront. But I need your help. Go and sign that petition. The more people that we have joining in on the petition, the more this issue can be brought forward. It doesn't matter what party you're from. You can be of any stripe. Just sign the petition so that we can put this issue on the table in the House, and continue to do what Jagdeep is doing, what all the United Sikhs organization is doing, bringing a voice to Chabal Singh and all of his friends and families there that are suffering such a great distress there, and help us just move this forward. Help us shine a light on religious persecution, and let's see what we can do to bring them here to Canada.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Jagdeep, you're right. I mean, look, when we get elected, we have a responsibility to become the spokespeople for our own communities, our constituents, but we're also have an obligation and responsibility to people outside of our own little elected areas, and that includes standing up for people whose human rights are being violated in any way, shape, or form, and this is a glaring example of that. So my takeaway from this is I'm going to become a stronger advocate on this issue. And I thank you again, because I'm much better informed now than I was prior to this discussion and prior to being presented with the opportunity to participate today. So I will be able to do that, and I'll work with Tamara, I'll work with members of my own caucus, and I'll work with everybody, and I'll work with you and the Buehler Foundation and all of the other strong advocates who've been working so hard to bring this issue to the forefront and make more people aware of it. And I'm now part of that team.
Well, that's great. Thank you very much. Chabal Singh ji, apne kol 5 minute reh gaye. We've got 5 minutes. So je tusi kuch kehna chahte ho to please go ahead.
बस वीर जी मैं ना प्यारे एमपीआं दी बात समझ गया, गल समझ गया। इन्हां ने आखिर विच बहुत अच्छी गल कीती कि ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਕਮੇਟੀ ਅਤੇ ਬੋਲਰ ਫਾਊਂਡੇਸ਼ਨ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਅਫਗਾਨ ਸਿੱਖ ਨੂੰ ਅਫਗਾਨਿਸਤਾਨ ਚੋਂ निकाल के कनाडा अपना देंगे। So यही कहना है, please, 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 attention for us, please, please, please help us, because first God, then you. We have
थोड़ी आवाज नहीं आ रही वीर जी, थोड़ी आवाज बंद, I can't hear you.
God, you, and I want be your attention, because ਤੁਹਾਡੀ attention ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਅਫਗਾਨਿਸਤਾਨ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ।
Okay, so basically he's thanking both of you and just Canadians in general for standing behind this. I do have a question. These people are sitting on a ticking time bomb. Would Canada consider talking to India and Pakistan or neighboring countries to speed up the process? The Afghan Sikhs have expressed their interim interest to move to their immediate neighbors geographically. Is that something that we should explore?
That would be something that the Minister of Immigration would have to really step up and do. Like you say, it is a ticking time bomb. It's so incredibly dangerous right now. And again, I just think of these children that are stuck in the Gurdwara and unable to go to school, unable to play in the street. There's just it is truly a ticking time bomb. Something needs to get done soon. So hopefully, our voices, James and myself, and all those that sign the petition, all those that are listening here, we can bring this forward and really make sure that that the government understands how urgent this situation is. And hopefully, like you say, I mean, obviously COVID-19 has really thrown a tremendous wrench in the problem, which was already a very complicated problem, but hopefully we can do something quickly here. I just wanted to say too, just put in another pitch for the private sponsorship. I just absolutely love the fact that the Sikh community has stood up and said, we are going to enfold these people into the community. We're going to show them how to get around, they just help them with absolutely everything. And that truly is a winning way of bringing people to Canada to quickly be able to get jobs, have that human dignity brought back to them. It is by having that community fold them in. So wonderful. I hope that that's what we can do as fast as possible.
Thank you. I want to ask you, I don't know if either of you want to comment on this. Sorry, James, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say the answer to your question is yes. I mean, any effort that can be made to work with neighboring countries, be it India or Pakistan, or that's going to help advance this issue, it should be done. And that communication is happening. We've been working with the process through India. We have been in touch, as I said, with the Afghan government since the events in March. So the steps you're suggesting are actually occurring.
Okay, great. Any insight in terms of what the difference is in terms of private sponsorships versus the government sponsoring these people? Procedurally, do you know anything about that? I know it's an unfair question to you but
your question is,
so if the government takes
what's the current status?
Yeah, so if the government says, you know what, we don't need private sponsorship, you're just going to go in and the government's going to sponsor them. I think, Tamara, you maybe, I don't know if you have any opinion on that or.
Well, my biggest concern is that it's the private sponsorship is often much more successful in that, the families that come here are immediately given that kind of community support, show them how to go to the bank, how to use transit. And it's just very, I can't imagine coming from Afghanistan and having, lived in a Gurdwara for years. I don't know how long this has been going on without education, and now to come to a country like Canada and then try to make your way around. You don't have the language capacity. So private sponsorship has been very, very successful because you have people that will do translation and really, hold your hand as you're working into this new country. So for me, that has been just a tremendous success, and I'd love to see that we continue to do it that way, so that people, I mean, we want people to actually thrive when they get here, right? Not just get here, but thrive when they get here.
Right.
The latter part of that statement, I couldn't agree with more. And I think regardless of what the process is, I think when people come to Canada, in any circumstances and from anywhere, are welcome to the community, and there are people who are there to lend them a hand and help them adjust to Canadian society. So
I know
the bigger issue is that there's an issue here that needs a remedy, and that's what that remedy is getting it done, whether it's private or otherwise.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I'm just going to ask our guest from Afghanistan if he has any closing remarks. I know we're 1 minute over now. We started a couple of minutes late. Chabul Singh ji, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੁਝ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ?
Thank you to thank you MPN. Just I say, please attention for your speech. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your regards. And
so basically,
and the end, I want, if I said anything mistake, and please, sorry.
So he's apologizing if he said anything wrong. I know he hasn't, but
he hasn't.
He's done a good job in explaining the situation. So, I mean, on behalf of United Sikhs, myself as a moderator, of course, from the entire Afghan community, I want to thank both of you. My parting thought is that, you know, I'm looking forward to continued engagement with both of you, and through you both, with both of your parties, essentially the government of Canada and the opposition. I know sometimes can be very, very critical about what the government does. So if we can support, you know, both sort of ends of the house, or both sides of the aisle, and really move this forward. And I think that's what needs to be done. Perhaps one of the parting suggestions is to reduce the amount of financial burden that's placed as part of the private sponsorship. When the government looks at this, perhaps create a special private sponsorship program, perhaps fast track some of the applications that are there. Because one of the challenges that I've realized is that people who are waiting in India are waiting for years and years and years, and they really cannot settle themselves there because they're waiting for their applications to be processed. So thank you both. Thanks a lot. I really, really appreciate the time. You know, I want to thank everybody who joined in today as attendees, everybody who joined in on Facebook Live, they were watching us. Please continue to support the organization. United Sikhs can only work and function if the donors continue to support us, and we can facilitate these kind of sessions as a result of that contribution from everybody around the globe.
Thank you. And I wish many blessings on Chabul Singh and all the family and friends that are there. We hope for your safe departure from Afghanistan eventually. And hopefully we can honor the memory of Manmeet Bhullar by bringing you home.
Thank you.
I think we all share those sentiments, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A special shout out to both of you. Man, this has never been done before. It's unprecedented. So really, thank both of you, MP Maloney and MP Jansen, for coming. Really appreciate your time today. Thank you. Good luck and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.